company is generating billions of dollars in profit every year.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, I could take a conservative market cap or a conservative multiple, or I could take an aggressive multiple like the one that's put on Coinbase right now, 8 times revenues.
Yep.
You own substantially all of this business, do you not?
Yes, but our fees are much lower than Coinbase's. So
I'm aware.
Yeah. So if you look at Coinbase's trading volume and multiply that with a multiple, if you use the revenue multiple, our multiple will be lower. If you use the activity multiple, will be much higher.
I think you know what I'm getting at, though. Yeah. If we apply these multiples to the kind of business that you've built, you're one of the richest people in the world sitting right here.
I'm not sure about that, to be honest. And also, I don't really care about wealth, money, and also rankings, etc. I also I believe it was a Forbes interview just a couple of days ago. I said I will commit to donate 99% of my wealth away before I leave this world. So I'm not really interested. So I think anytime people pay too much attention to that, they usually kind of lose focus. Whereas what we want to do is we just want to build tools for people to access crypto.
What are your strategic priorities for this company? Where do you want to be that you're not now?
Yeah, so I think right now, the short term, we have to pay a lot of attention to this regulatory pivot. We want to be pivoting from a technology company to a financial services company. I think that will take a few months, a couple of years. Longer term, though, we want Binance to be a platform of other platforms. So Binance have an NFT platform marketplace. We have a sports fan token marketplace. We want to be the infrastructure for other entrepreneurs, for other teams, either within Binance or outside of Binance, to build their platforms. We can help them on in a number of ways. We have the largest liquidity in the world. We can give them liquidity by listing the tokens or coins. Before that, we can help them to do the initial sales through Binance Launchpad, the IEOs. Even before that, we want to help them to design the tokens, so we can advise them on the token economics. We encourage people to take a very long-term view. So our team has been pushing for 10-year unlocking periods for founder tokens. So today, if you see in the industry, they typically about 3-4 years, similar to ESOPs. We're like, no, that's too short. If you want to issue a token, you got to have a 10-year commitment. And so we do all of these things that we want to facilitate other projects to grow.
This raises a question for me. One of the most confusing things about the crypto market, many people, is the proliferation of coins, right? The speed at which these coins are created, the speed at which they acquire a market cap. I'll point to Himalaya coin, a recent example. This month alone, right? This is a coin, by the way, for those of you who don't know, has a small number of identifiable attributes. A promotional video involving an exiled Chinese billionaire. He's smoking a cigar, he's on a yacht, he's driving a red sports car, and it has the support of Steve Bannon, one of President Donald Trump's former advisors. Yet at one point, this coin was worth $27 billion. How do you, who understands this world, explain how this happens, how these coins are created out of evidently nothing and acquire market values? And I'm not just talking about Himalaya coin. It could be Dogecoin, which, as we know, started as kind of a joke, and Shiba Inu, which is a satirical take on Dogecoin. It's sort of a meta thing.
Yeah.
How does this work?
So valuations are very subjective. So I think in addition to price and valuations, we need to look at liquidity. So you could issue a coin. You can issue some coin. Issue a trillion of them, and you just sell one at $1 to me, and now you suddenly have $1 trillion in theory. But if you want to cash out that $1 trillion, if you want to realize that $1 trillion, you need a lot more liquidity than that. I'm not going to pay $1 trillion.
So we should look at some of these coins and apply a liquidity discount.
Yes, and so you need to look at how much circulating supply is and how much trading volume, how much liquidity there is. There are a lot of coins which are issued, but they have very small, large total supply, very small circulating supply, and the people are not careful. They push the price up. And promotional videos and other things could help it. But longer term, though, the coin has to have value. The market will catch up. The markets will understand it. And this is why for Binance, when we list coins, we only list coins that has decent enough circulating supply. So we want to avoid this kind of spikes. And if you have enough people trading this coin and the circulating supply percentage-wise is large enough, then you'll reach some kind of a real market-driven value. Yeah.
Part of your engagement with regulators has been on a search for a new headquarters. Where do you think it's going? What's on the short list?
There's a few countries which are very pro-crypto in the world. And we do have a headquarters set up already, entity-wise. I can't announce it today. We are actually communicating that with all the regulators we're communicating with first. And then I think in a very short period, we'll be able to publicize that. There are a number of regions which are very pro-crypto. I'm not saying this is where we will definitely base our headquarters in, but for example, if you look at UAE, if you look at France, and Singapore, these regions are all very pro-crypto. Now we have many advanced economies that are really wanting to bring this innovation in. So, yeah.
Speaking of regulation, you're under the regulatory microscope in the United States and in the UK. There's some confusion between the distinction between Binance and your US business. What is the relationship between those two? Does one own the other? Do you own them both? Is there a parent organization?
Yeah, so there are two very independent organizations. I do sit on the chair. I'm the chairman of the board for Binance US. That's probably the only linkage between the two organizations. Binance US use Slack for internal communications. I don't have Slack installed on my phones or any device. So I'm actually not in the day-to-day operations. So I do have a chat with the CEO once every week or so, and that's it. Yeah.
Do they use the same technology?
They do use so Binance.com provides the product and technology for Binance US, and there has been many misreportings about Binance US have data in China or Binance.com. Binance.com or Binance US never had data in China.
How do you see these investigations being resolved?
First of all, I'm not sure what the investigations point to. There have been a lot of news coverage about investigations in the US. No US regulators have ever publicly said anything about it. We are communicating with almost every single regulator around the world, and we feel that we have a pretty collaborative attitude, and we've been very helpful. So we want to hopefully keep it that way. Yeah.
You mentioned in an interview a couple of months ago that the U.S. business had plans to raise some money in a financing round and eventually go public. Is that still the case?
Yes, I think that will come out in about a month or two. That will close in about a month.
And why are you raising money? We just established that you're immensely profitable and.
Yeah, so we do want to diversify the cap table a little bit, and then having Binance US has a route to go IPO in the US. Now there's a playbook. Coinbase did it, so it's very simple. Like, let's do everything that Coinbase did, compliance-wise, etc., and do it hopefully cheaper, and then put it at a lower cost, and hopefully attract users and IPO that. And from an IPO perspective, it's better to have a few rounds of financing before that.
How much money do you want to raise in this pre-IPO financing round?
I think for this one, it's a couple $100 million. I actually don't know exactly the number. Yeah.
What about Binance, the parent company? Do you see that going public ever?
So right now, it's not clear. We're not ruling anything out. But Binance.com is a much larger entity, and we also need to look at regulations in different parts of the world to see where to IPO. And to be honest, in 5-10 years, we may see a merge between cryptocurrency exchanges and security exchanges. The cryptocurrency exchange may be able to support tokenized securities or security tokens. In those cases, it may be possible to just list on a cryptocurrency exchange, and we have we have a pretty decent liquidity.
So maybe be able to bypass the stock market altogether.
Maybe there will be a merge at some point. It's very hard to predict what the future looks like in 5-10 years, and I think that's the minimum amount of time it will take for us to IPO anyway. So the future has a lot of uncertainties, but we're open to all possibilities.
Do you see China reversing its ban on cryptocurrency trading?
Short answer is no, but I want to also make a clarification there. China did not ban crypto, they just banned crypto exchanges and ICOs. There's a very strong distinction.
Yes, there is.
So, and China, in fact, is actually issuing their own cryptocurrencies, the CBDC, and holding Bitcoin is perfectly legal in China. But running a cryptocurrency exchange in China is deemed as not kosher anymore. And that was the case even 4 years ago. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think China will try to push their central bank digital currency pretty hard, and they will at least try for 5, 10, 20 years and see how it works. Yeah, maybe not 20, but at least 5 years, I think.
CZ, let's finish with this. Hillary Clinton told this room not long ago, just a few minutes ago, that she sees cryptocurrencies as a threat in the same league as military intervention, bioterrorism. It's a threat. She sees it as a threat to American sovereignty. She sees it as a threat to the status of the US dollar as a reserve currency. Should people see crypto as a threat?
I think that's a very personal view. Anybody can choose their own stance, but a better view would be to embrace it. So, like for example, for Binance, we run a centralized exchange, and that decentralized exchanges, which could threaten our centralized business. What do? We embrace it fully. We invest very heavily in that. We get multiple teams working on that technology, and we want to own it. We want to have a stake in it. We don't really need to. We can't own, but we want to own we want to have the technology. We want to have the expertise, and we want to grow that. The best way to protect yourself against something that can potentially disrupt you in any way, is to become that. Is to invest very heavily with that. So if you look at Kodak, right? So Kodak they invented digital cameras, but they were so protective of their film cells. They probably had their senior managers' KPIs set in film cells, a couple of decades ago. And guess what? Because they're so protective of those films, they lost the digital camera industry. What's better to do is to just invest very heavily in the thing that can disrupt you. And coming back to U.S. dollars, I think U.S. dollars is a very strong tool for U.S. to organize the world. It's probably much stronger than the military, and there is a potential for cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, etc., to disrupt that in some ways. But internet has this disruption power to traditional commerce businesses. Guess what? U.S. got that. Amazon's based in the U.S., Google's in the U.S., Facebook, Twitter, etc. If U.S. if U.S. didn't embrace that innovation, those companies may not be in the U.S. Those companies may be elsewhere. And so now you got a balance between wanting to attract technology innovation, embracing that, or just say protect our film industry and have that go elsewhere. But the technology will develop around the world. You cannot erase a concept from 4 million people's heads, 400 million people's heads. So I think a better way is to say, okay, no, there is some potential for disruption power, but let's not view that as a threat. Let's view that as an innovation. Let's embrace it. That's a much better way.